Well, this is some pretty unsettling stuff, especially for rape and sexual assault victims who are finding out that it could be a while before their violent attacker is brought to justice. We like to think when violent crimes happen, like rape and assault, that detectives comb through every clue and every piece of evidence as quickly as possible to catch whoever's responsible. But that's not necessarily the case right now with the Phoenix Police Department. Arizona's family has learned there's a major backlog of sex crime evidence with hundreds and hundreds of rape kits that haven't been tested yet.
We need to call attention to this.
Krista Lindsay is Director of Engagement with the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. She thinks the current delay investigating sex assault cases sends a bad message to crime victims.
It absolutely sends a message to survivors that they're not getting justice. They're not being heard. They're not being believed, which are the same messages that they have received from the get-go.
As of July 31st, there were 835 sex assault kits untested, according to the Phoenix Police Department. The big question is why. Arizona's family was told Phoenix PD is still experiencing a major staff shortage that's impacting its ability to investigate sex crimes. They are actively hiring forensic scientists. 2 of 10 vacancies have been filled, with another 5 positions to be filled by next month.
This also means that rapists and people who are causing harm are still not being held accountable and are out in the community and causing more harm.
Close to 300 of the backlogged rape kits have reportedly been submitted to an outside lab, but the other 500-plus kits are sitting somewhere waiting to be opened. We reached out to Phoenix PD for comment and were told they would not be making any statements on camera, but plans are in place to address the backlog within the next 6 months. We received this email that read in part, "The department has developed a plan to address each and every backlog sex assault kit, and this is currently in the approval process. Once this is completed, the lab would bring the process of sending the remaining backlog kits to outsource companies for processing."
But it just adds to the trauma. It adds a layer, it adds on top of just trying to heal, move on with your life after a really traumatic and difficult experience. They are participating in the criminal justice system. They deserve to know what the next steps are. They deserve to have closure.
Phoenix PD insists that rape kits from high-priority cases are looked at right away, meaning if they believe there's a dangerous predator in the community, that is not an investigation that is put on hold.
So, Jason, 5-6 years ago, this was even worse, like 6,400 cases statewide. And back then, Governor Hobbs was in the legislature and helped change the law to eliminate the backlog. So she's weighing in tonight, promising to stay on top of this.
Absolutely. The governor is following this and just sent us a statement saying she's extremely concerned about the rape kit backlog that puts the safety of every Arizonan at risk. She says she is committed to working with legislatures and law enforcement to find a way to clear the backlog and deliver justice for victims. Back to you guys.